What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the I Am iKon podcast. I am your host, iKon Faulcon, and today with me, there's a special guest in the building. Let me see if I remember how to do this one time. It's my right hand, my cameraman, and your cameraman too. I got Cameraman Steve in the building.
That's what it is.
What's going on, big guy? What's going on, baby? I don't even know what to call you, Slim. What's going on? It's been a minute, man. You know
Chilling,
what?
man. It feels good to hear that again.
Listen, bro. You know what's funny? It feels so surreal sometimes. I've just being on a podcast and just slight background because this is your interview. Slight background. The I Am iKon podcast started out with me and Cameraman Steve, and it hasn't changed. It's just that I had to relocate to a totally different state, so we had to kind of figure out how to move forward. And it's been a while since Cameraman Steve and I has been on the same screen, same microphone, or whatever the case may be. And I've always said in my previous podcast that a lot of people ask about Cameraman Steve because Cameraman Steve was warming up and he started giving it up in the podcast that we was doing. So if you don't know about it, we ain't gonna talk about it. Just go listen to the podcast and you can see the growth. But man, I miss my guy Cameraman Steve. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. I can't call it. I'm chilling.
Man, it's good. It's good to see you again, and forgive me if there's a slight lag, but I'm definitely gonna try to keep up with you. But what I like we was talking about off mic, man, is I wanted to shift the podcast scene for the brand and for what we do, because we as men, you and I specifically, the way that we operate, man, I think we had a great business model going with our podcast. I just didn't agree with how, I felt like we was just going in the same direction as every other podcast. Just gossiping, chatty patty, talking about current events, which isn't a bad thing. Talking about, current events is a good thing, but I just felt like in order for us to continue those topics, we had to like get a little too more reckless than exactly what our character is. Not that we we said anything crazy, but it still was like we don't a great example is if anybody go back and listen to any of the episodes, I still have nightmares. I can't believe we had this podcast about Romeo and little Romeo and his and Master P.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
And I was like, oh man, I just talked about somebody's child. I just talked about somebody's father, parent, all these things. You sit back, you be like, man, we ain't, what I'm saying? Ain't nobody perfect. And that's not what we do out here, right? It becomes a thing where it's like, you know what, let's shift gears. So this is what shifting gears look like to us. So the first guest obviously is none other than who I consider to be a dear friend of mine, my brother. I call him Cameraman Steve. A lot of you all know him as Stephen Branch. I'm still gonna call him Cameraman Steve. I don't care.
And got a nice ring to
it. All right, Cameraman Steve, man. So what we trying to do here is just learn about who Cameraman Steve is, man. So we're gonna start out with tell us where you from and tell us how you were raised. As far as, did you grow up in a household with both parents, your mother and father, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. Grew up in a 2-parent household with a sister.
Nice. So quick question for you. So growing up in a 2-parent household, was there like, who was the discipliner? Was it your mother? Was it your father? Or did you not even get disciplined at all?
Nah, it was more so good cop, bad cop.
Okay.
Like you see in the movies and everyday life, your mom is going to be the nurturer and like, yeah, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. And your dad is like, nah, he going to be all right. Let him cry. All this other stuff. So it was the yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step you on him.
No, I was gonna say that's exactly how people portray it in the movies and stuff. Exactly how it was.
Yeah. So do you feel so with your father obviously laying the law down, do you think that played an effect on the man that you are today?
Um, it definitely did. It definitely did.
Okay.
And just to pivot a little bit, I've had friends that didn't come from a two-parent household, so I was able to,
Yeah.
experience, the way I was raised, and then see how they were raised. And when I say my friends that didn't grow up in two parents household, it was always a single mom.
Got it. Got it. And so that's ironic, and it's ironic you say that, right? So at when you as when you experience your friends who didn't come from a two parent household, did you notice right then and there the difference, or did it take you a while growing up as a boy into a man for you to understand the difference of I guess the law that your father laid down and the nurturing that your mother provided at the time?
It it wasn't until I got older that I noticed the difference or realized there was a difference. Like, I'm in my 30s now, early 30s. So you look back, uh, you know, 16, 17 years ago, you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know you were experiencing this, or I didn't know
Yeah,
you were going through that. I didn't know
yeah,
you were in high school having to work multiple jobs to help your mom pay bills. Like,
yeah.
that's new to me. I've never had experienced that. So, yeah, definitely learned some things as I have gotten older.
Did seeing some of that stuff have any type of effect on you, right? So obviously you spoke about how obviously you paid attention to it and you seen the difference, but did it have any effect on you growing up at that time, or was it just one of those things that you just held on to and you just remembered it as a teenager slash going into your young man stages, and you kind of held into it and it helped you adapt in the world?
Yeah, it didn't affect me personally, but growing up, I see how it affect others.
Yeah. So after that, right? So we're gonna progress a little bit. So you raised in a two parent household, and did you graduate high school? Did you go to college?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2008, and then directly after high school, I went to North Carolina A&T.
North Carolina A&T. So going all right. So leaving mother's house, dad's house, going to North Carolina A&T. What was the major and the first year of college? Did you feel like you made the right decision? Did you want to change majors? What was that like?
Man, I think I changed major three times. Uh,
Oh, word.
yeah, let me talk. I talk about it all the time, man. When
Yeah,
you don't realize it when you are 18, you think you're grown, but
yeah,
you're not grown, man. And to ask an 18
yeah,
year old fresh out of college to be like, "What do you want to do the rest of your life? Choose now."
yeah, yeah.
That's a lot. I feel like you're still learning yourself, learning what you like, what you don't like. Obviously, I learned what I like and didn't like because I changed my major three times.
So
So
what was your first major into your second major into your third major?
Um, so I started off in accounting because, well,
Okay,
my thing was I like math and I like numbers in high school. So I
okay,
didn't really know what that could translate to. So I thought about like architecture for something like that. And then I ended up taking an accounting class, and my accounting teacher was like, you should just try accounting. So I went to A&T, tried accounting. First, I think in my curriculum, I think freshman and sophomore year, just all like generic classes. So like
yeah,
your basic
yeah,
math, stuff like that. I wasn't really taking my major classes yet. It wasn't until junior year, I believe, where I started taking accounting classes. And like the first, I think it was like basic principles of accounting, one or two. They were all right. But then
yeah.
when I moved up a level and I was like, oh, nah, like this ain't, this ain't it. This ain't clicking. So I changed from accounting to finance because it was a change in the major, but it didn't change my graduation path too much because I wasn't
Okay,
trying to
okay.
stay in school any longer for what I was because
Then
I'm on
that
student
happened.
loans. Like, well, I came from a two-parent household, but we weren't rich. So the longer you stay in school, the more money you got to pay back. So I went from accounting to finance.
Okay.
I was like, well, I like, it's still numbers, and I like finance, bank accounts, stuff like that. So took a couple of finance courses, and I was like, nah, this ain't it either, bro. Like, I'm not feeling this. And it's not like, it'd be one thing to like understand something and then grasp it and to be like, nah, I don't want to do this. I couldn't grasp it. I could not. I'm in class like, what is going on? So I went from accounting to finance, and then from finance to business economics. And
Wow.
business economics was like, all right, like, and I think most people have economic skills that they just don't know, like supply and demand. Like that's going to determine the price of items and shortages and overstocks and all that. And then once again, changing from finance to business econ would only push me back a semester. So instead of graduating in 4 years, I would graduate in 4.5. So, and I really think that was like process elimination. Like, what other major can I choose that's not going to put me to a high schedule? And business econ fell in that pot for me. So I went to business econ, and I was able to graduate. I ended up graduating with honors for the business econ degree. Funny thing is, though, my first job. Funny thing is, my first job out of college, man, was in the accounting department. So I ended up back in accounting. Either way.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So you had it the whole time. You just ain't know it
yet. Man, look, I tell everybody, look, it's more. Them classes may make you think you can't do something. The real world experience is completely different, man.
That's a fact. So all right. So obviously, we talked about you switching your major, and on your switching it on your third time, you actually getting it. When you was going through college, did you feel like well, obviously you didn't know exactly what the real world was like just yet, but did you feel like you was getting everything that you needed at the time that was going to prepare you to get outside and get a job and survive and, so forth and so on from what you knew at that present time?
Yeah, I felt like they did the best they could. Like, you take speeches, obviously I must have failed that class, speech classes, prepare you to how to speak in front of people. You do presentations all the time to get you comfortable presenting in front of people and things like that. But I have a lot of friends as military, just so to correlate, they can tell me, they can describe war to me all they want and how to prepare for war, but it's going to be completely different when you step on the battlefield, So it's like they can give me these speech classes and business presentations and all this stuff to prepare me for the real world, and it'll help, but it's not going to be anything like getting out there in the real world.
I can understand that. So side note, gotta ask, North Carolina A&T, HBCU, one of North Carolina's hottest black colleges. Well, the United States, one of the hottest black colleges in the United States. What was it like going to North Carolina A&T? Like, were you focused, your first year or first couple years? Were you partying? Like, what, everyone has a story. So, like, what was that like for you?
Man, speaking for myself, I was able to do a good balance. So I was able to party, and still, do my work and things like that. But I've seen the other side. I've seen people that party too much, couldn't do the work. I saw you first semester, second semester, you gone, you home. So I was able to balance it out. And I think it's more sort of my personality too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more reserved, I'm more introverted. So I think that helped me out.
That, what I always find, so I didn't go to college, right? But I do always find, people who do go to college a little amusing, simply because it's like, I know what I would probably do if I went to college, right? I know what I did when I went to high school, so I know what I do when I go to college, right? But it's one of those things where, the temptation of the partying, once again, we're specifically speaking on North Carolina A&T, right? The temptation of the partying, the beautiful women, Greensboro, North Carolina, everything being right there, it's just like,
Yeah.
God, school for what? I'm living in Kingdom Come right now. Like, class for what? You know? So I guess where I'm going with this is, you know, to me it feels like kids are kind of forced to grow up faster and mature faster in college than they really notice, because you have to take responsibility at a faster rate than you probably did in high school, right? You
No,
know,
that's
quote me if I'm
100%
wrong
facts,
of that,
man. No,
right?
that's
So
100% true.
you have to be like, you have to have some poise about yourself, because it's like, if you don't, because once again, if you don't go to class, nobody's going to force you to go to class. So you have
Yep.
to make it your priority to set alarms or
Yep.
whatever time class is, show up to class, do homework, you
Right.
know, whatever it
Yep.
is. It's kind of like living in a grown man or woman's world, right?
Yep.
Just without having to show up for a paycheck. Really, you just showing up for education. So I always wondered, like,
Yep.
how college students do that, because you see a lot of people in the world just fail at normal life.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not, and that's no disrespect to anybody, right? So if life by itself is hard, it's like, how do people make it through college, right? Because that's a form of
Right.
life. Like, the only thing different is replace the education with a job, right? We're no
Right.
longer showing up
Right.
for a teacher to, you know, teach us anything. We're showing up to a supervisor to direct us, or whatever the case may
Yep.
be. Quote me if I'm wrong. Tell me what your thoughts is on that.
No, that's exactly right, man. You look at it, your dorm is your apartment, quote unquote, your
Yep.
apartment. And the college campus is like your world. Like,
Yeah.
your mom not gonna come. It's not high school. Your mom not gonna come knock on the door, say, "Get up, it's time to go to class. It's time to go to school." Like, nobody's checking on you really to, like, you know, you turn your paper in, like, you know, you come home from school, you're young, your mom like, "You got any homework to do?" Like, nobody's really, you know, doing that. You know,
Nobody
like, it's
checking for
up to
you.
you. Yeah, like, your mom, your parents, your mom, your dad, aunt, uncle, whoever it is, guardian or whatever, they don't really know what you have going on, you know, when you're off in college, especially like if you out of state, or like you can be an hour, 2 hours away. They like, you know, like, you don't have that access like you did back in high school. You know, you can leave out your dorm 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to do whatever you want to do. Like, your mom and daddy be like, where you going? You know, like, you are forced to grow up early, have the responsibilities, you know, and really try to do the right thing.
I think that's dope, man. So one time for you for even being able to go to college, because some people can't even get accepted into college, right? So that's one for you. Then second of all, you graduated college, and not just did you graduate, you graduated with honors. All right, so salute to you, my brother. I'm glad you was able to complete something that I wouldn't even attempt to do. So salute to you. All right. So that's why I got a podcast, because I didn't go to college. All right. So, bet you go to college, you graduate with honors. You know what happens after you graduate college? What happens then?
Man,
What does life
good.
what does life look like?
It sounds good when you say you graduate with honors. It sounds good. You're like, oh, okay, so you must have got out, got you a good job. And no, man, I came back home. I had to work at the North Carolina Department of Revenue. I was working night shift for a little bit because I couldn't find a career job. I had did that. I graduated in December of 2012. I felt like I didn't get my first career job until like so I went December 2012. I think I went all of 13. So maybe the beginning of 2014 was when I got my first career job. So a year after I graduated, I got my first career job. And in that meantime, I was just working at the North Carolina Department of Revenue, man. So graduating with honors sound good, but that doesn't equate to immediate career success. I tell you that. Everybody's story is different. I can only tell you mine. But
That's
it did not.
funny. that's funny to me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is funny to me because once again, that sounds exactly like the college story, right? So the question that I have now is, right, you graduate with honors, you get out of college. You work at the department, North Carolina, for the state of North Carolina, right?
Yep.
And now, obviously, you work in night shift, so you work in a job that isn't really, i.e., back to college, like your first major, isn't your first
Right.
choice, right? But you're just
Right.
getting your feet wet, right? So how
Yeah.
does life now become just like college, meaning you're just trying to find your major? The only thing different is you're replacing major with career now?
Yeah, I would say so. And let me just put out there, it's probably my fault too. If we go back a couple minutes where I said I'm reserved and I'm introverted, that's probably me. If I would have probably been more involved in, like, we had it was a career day, job fairs, career fairs. They had career fairs. I
Okay.
didn't attend the career fairs. I wasn't making connections. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm pretty sure that I'm part of the reason. I'm not gonna say like I work hard, I
Okay.
deserve to have a job as soon as I come out. I didn't do everything I was supposed to do
Okay.
while on campus. So I'm sure that helped. But yeah, to
Okay.
your initial point, but yeah, that's exactly what it's like. That's what it was like for me,
So
trying to
so what
find
you
that next move.
So what you telling me now, Cameraman Steve, is that North Carolina A&T taught you accountability too,
It sure
self
did.
accountability.
It sure did. It sure did. I was so reserved and so introverted, didn't want to talk to people, man, and realized, man, you ain't gonna get too far in life like that at all.
All right, God, I don't want to, because I'm afraid if I ask this question, I'd be jumping too far ahead. But did when did the reserve portion of you leave? Was it after college or further down the road?
Further down the road, I'm still reserved in certain situations. I like to call myself I'm not I'm selectively social. So
Okay.
somebody can see me in one setting and think like, wow, that guy's really quiet. And then that same person can
Yeah.
see me in another setting and be like, I have no idea who this guy is, like the way he's acting. So I'm still reserved. I like to make it in life, you're gonna kind of have to like
Yeah.
play the game. I'm sure
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Just like, you
Yeah.
have to smile when you don't want to smile sometime, and things like that. So I've learned the way of corporate and the way of business. So I'm still
Yeah.
reserved, but I know how to play my cards. I'll say that.
You know what? It's once again funny you say that. Because if it's kind of funny. Like, I honestly, and I talk about it, and I don't even know if you notice it. Like, I talk about like the growth on the podcast that, here on the podcast when we started from day one when we first started to, I think, our last kind of episode together was around episode 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah.
Like from one, it was like you could tell you was really reserved because you didn't know what you was getting into or what you was about to say or do. But once again, I hate it because by episode 10, I promise you, everybody was like, yo, Cameraman Steve is giving it up. He is showing out. So I was like, wow. So I totally understand. I've seen personally the way that your levels go when you're progressing slowly at whatever pace that you progress at, right? All right. So
Mm-hmm.
we work for the state of North Carolina, and
Yep.
then where do we go? What do we do next?
From there, I go to, at the time, it was Kangaroo Express, the gas stations. But I was working corporate, so I was in their accounting
Okay.
department for the Kangaroo
Okay.
Express, yeah. And then
Oh, so you sticking around account. The one thing you ran from is the one thing that you sticking around all the way
you
up to
feel, I
this
don't know
point.
how that worked out, but yeah. Yes.
That's dope though. So that's so, man, this is so crazy because that's the crazy part about life, right? Sometimes in life, the one thing we feel like is not for us is the one thing that seems like to chase after us
Yeah.
sometimes in life,
It'll choose you
right? And
if need be.
it'll choose you, right? And
Yeah.
but the crazy part is you was open to accepting it. So I think that's amazing. That's a dope
Yeah.
part. So we always the key to the podcast, I Am iKon podcast, is to speak with entrepreneurs in their own lane, right? Own lane being anything I don't care if it's you make your own material for shoelaces, or you grow your own crops and you just an entrepreneur, whatever the case is, right? That's what the I Am iKon podcast is about. And for obvious reasons, I call you Cameraman Steve, because you are a entrepreneur as a photographer and a videographer. Let
I am.
alone selfishly, I'm going to talk about myself and tell you how grateful I am to you, and how amazing of a photographer and videographer I found out you were by inviting you to be a part of the podcast and our previous podcast. Uh, because when I originally hit you, I said, "Yo, I want to do a podcast. This is what it's going to be about. Whatever, blah, blah, blah." And you didn't hesitate. You didn't decline. The first thing you said, "I bet, say that. Just let me know when, and I'm there." So I'm like, "All right, cool. Such and such date. This is when we're going to do it." I already had ordered some equipment, podcast equipment that didn't work. So I had already ordered some lights, the whole joint. If you go to Amazon, the whole podcast setup, the beginner joint, I had that. So I was telling Cameraman Steve, just come through, just be a part of it, whatever. I already got everything. Of course, Cameraman Steve, being the cameraman that he is, he bought his own equipment. All right, mind you, the basic equipment that I got is equipment, if you touch, it's going to fall over. If you bend it the wrong way, it's going to break. It is so cheap. And I didn't know this until Cameraman Steve came through with these humongous lights that looked like he was trying to shoot a movie. And I was like, came through with two of them joints. I was like, what is that? And then he turned the lights out, hit the lights on the lamps that he bought. And them joints, I felt like I was about to do a 50 Cent concert, bro. I was like, yo, this is it. This is what I needed. I needed this. Yo, so first of all, thank you for your professionalism, bro. And I think
No doubt.
I don't know, we haven't spoke about your journey just yet, but I think you come a long way, because there's no way not that, I know everything, but I know I wouldn't have known what the heck those lights were, or how to find those lights and know that, we needed to use those lights. Cameraman Steve had our podcast looking like he was really shooting the next the remake of Belly. I was like, yo, this is the one right here. I was like, oh, we got something, baby. So, all right, Cameraman Steve. Videography and photography. How did you touch that? Let's start there.
Man, honestly, like I grew up liking cameras, like, the old cameras, the take the picture and you wind it, like the Kodak, the disposable joints.
Okay.
And so I just enjoyed taking pictures. I ain't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
I probably got to college, still didn't have my own camera, but I enjoyed watching other photographers take pictures and the photos they took. And at the time in college, when Instagram first came on the scene, when it was like only available for iPhones, obviously, if you had Instagram when it first started, it was strictly photos, like a strictly photo app. And then so got on there, saw everybody taking dope kind of pictures, man. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try it. So I got a camera. After I graduated sometime, I probably would have done Department of Revenue money. And then just grew from there. got on YouTube, self-taught, didn't go take any classes or anything.
Hold on, slow down.
YouTube.
Hold on. You giving up all the juice. Hold on. So you got into photography simply based off of something from your younger days of just enjoying messing around with the Polaroid. I think they was calling the Kodaks back in the days, right? The film joints. And so you decided just to, let me make sure, did you just buy a camera, or how did you go about getting your first camera?
I think at the time, so like I said, I was on YouTube a lot. And I think at that time, I don't know if somebody recommended something on YouTube, or I have another friend that's into photography. He may have started a little earlier.
Okay.
He may have recommended it to me. But either way, there was a recommendation of a basic, cheaper entry-level camera that I got my hands on and, tried to go from there.
Okay, so all right, with this basic camera, do you remember what kind of camera it was?
A Nikon D3200.
And I asked like I'm a photographer, and I knew it was like, yeah, damn the actual lens, and I don't know about that, man, but all right, sound good. All right, but with that, did you? All right, what did we do with the camera once we got it? Did we just start randomly shooting photos, video? What did we do?
I think when I first started, I was under the mindset of like, there's a lot of people in the world that don't like certain things about themselves. And I wanted to stay away from portrait photography because I was always under the impression of like, it's always going to be something that somebody don't like. I think the picture is absolutely beautiful. Why my eye look like that? Why my hair look like, do I really look like that? Like, can you do this and do this? And I was like, I wanted to stay away from that. So my first initial plan was like, I'm going to take pictures of like nature and like architecture. And I'm going to go around to new hotels that's being built and try to sell them my pictures so they can just put the pictures in each one of their rooms. Did I do that? No, I didn't go to one hotel.
Because you shot, right?
Good.
It sounded good.
And I think that's, as we, get further into the interview, you're going to see like, man, there's a lot of stuff you could have did. You just didn't do it. So, but yeah, that was my first initial plan. No, I didn't want to shoot no people, just straight nature, architecture, and see if I could, sell those prints.
Dope. So, all right. So now we shooting architecture, all right, and we shooting nature. How did we transition into people?
I think once I realized, I saw a couple other photographers, like I'm always following other photographers, and I think they put like caveats on like their websites and things like that. Like, I'm kind of along the lines of like, what you see is what you get. Like, we'll retouch your skin and edit your skin and stuff, but like, don't ask me to take in your waist 2 inches because I'm not going to do that. Like, like, don't ask me to remove fat. Don't ask me to make my jawline. And once I realized like that's possible that you could do that, I was like, oh, I can do people. I definitely can do people.
Wow. So all right. So I don't know if I'm backtracking or moving forward or whatever the case is. Architecture and nature versus shooting people. How did you learn how to use a camera? At what part? Was it the architecture and nature, or was it the people?
Yeah. So the architecture and nature got me my fundamentals. And then with the people, I was able to use, like when I started taking portraits like of people, those fundamentals helped me with that because it's different dynamics. Like, you're not going to have nature's an architecture. You're not really going to use lights or flashes and things like that. With the portraits, 9 times out of 10 you are, but the basics that I learned from the nature and architecture, I was able to take that, apply it to the people, And then that just made the learning curve was very small just because of those fundamentals.
So this is a great point that you're bringing up. So how do you learn for someone? Obviously, we spoke about the using the Kodak and the Polaroids in the day, and you buying your first camera. But obviously, for anyone who's ever had, hell, I had just to use an iPhone camera, I got to Google some stuff, right? Is it a try and fail method that you use when it came to the introduction of photography and videography?
1000%. And it's like when I'm doing architecture and nature, I was able to try and feel like the buildings aren't going to tell me like, I don't like the way this looks. Like, if I take a picture of a rabbit, the rabbit ain't going to tell me like, hey, bro, like this ain't, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to take those architecture and pictures of nature, look at them and be like, nah, this ain't good. And then, change my settings, learn what work, what don't work. How to use like natural light, like which way's the sun hitting and stuff like that. And then, like I said, when I transitioned to people, it just made it so much easier because we already did. It's going to be a new set of, trial and errors, but it made, like I said, it made it a whole lot easier.
So we're doing photography at the time. And you also do videography, which is, I would think, is it a total different beast than photography, right?
Yeah, it's a different beast, but same concept. I got those same fundamentals from the taking photos. So like camera talk, like I understand shutter speed, I understand aperture, I understand your ISO and things like that. So all that feed into videography as well.
All of that off the try and the fail method. That is wild.
Yeah.
And I can so all right. So side note, I told Cameraman Steve I needed to buy a camera, and I showed him a camera. I think the camera was like $200-300. He was like, "You can get it," but then he started doing that camera talk that he do. But it ain't gonna be able to do it. I was like, So, the camera I bought, it cost me a couple $100, but it was because when I went to go buy a camera, I remember the things that Cameraman Steve told me, right? So it's amazing to understand and see exactly what he's learned and what he knows just based off of a try and fail method, right? All right, so photography, videography, right? At what point or what are you doing? Are you asking people to take photos of them and videos of them, or is people coming to you? What is that business portion like?
In the beginning I was asking people, and mind you, it's a lot of ups and downs. Like this isn't like a 10-year straight process. Like it may be like year 1, I'm all into it. Year 2, I don't even touch my camera. Like I'm doing something else. Year 3, I may pick it up. Year 4, I'm like, I'm getting serious this year. Put it back down, go hard for 5 or 6. So, it wasn't consistent, but But yeah, man, I forgot your initial question. Sorry, I was
no. I mean, and it's crazy because you actually, once again, you put us in a great direction, because it's kind of like, obviously consistency is a real thing when it comes to anything, but especially learning anything when it comes to photography and videography. Clearly there was something that, obviously, with the exception of your past as a child playing with the smaller type cameras. What was it? Because as an adult, obviously you're totally different. So what was it about photography and videography that just do you feel like kept pulling you back into it, right? That you couldn't let it go?
I think I appreciated the art it's just the way I see things. Like me and somebody else could watch a movie. They're like taking the movie for what it is. I'm looking at something completely different. Like, oh, dang, they got the lights coming from this way. All right, they got 3 or 4 different camera angles. Like, I'm looking at stuff different, but I appreciate the art and the effort that goes into it, man. Because like when you really start digging and diving deep into it, it's a lot. Excuse me, that goes into it, man. And it's really an art that everybody doesn't have a skill set for. And obviously, I'm not the best at what I do, so it's I appreciate the people that's really at the top of their game in that profession of art.
I think, and once again, as always, I think it's dope because it's just like everything else. Just name one. Let's say a fashion designer. A fashion designer can look at a piece of, at a, I don't know, let's say a jacket or a t-shirt and be like, oh no, the material is not it, or the design is off, the logo, whatever the case is. And that's what it sounds like you are and becoming more of when it comes to the camera, photography, and videography.
Right.
So I guess where we were going slightly a couple of seconds ago was more of the business aspect of it. How did you go about gaining any type of client, right? Either the photography or videography.
Yeah, that was the question. Reaching out to people. If you don't have work out there, it's gonna be hard for you to get work. Like I can come tell you every day, I can do this for you. I can come shoot your wedding. I can do this, this, and that. But if I don't have no work to back that up, all you have is my word for it. And if you don't know me from, the next man, why would you trust me with that? Especially a day as big as your wedding or things of that sort. So definitely reaching out to people, build a portfolio. And that kind of goes into the conversation of like, do you work for free? Do you not work for free? Like, I'm under the impression, man, like when you first starting out and you need some kind of work, reach out to your friends first. Like you may have to work for free in the beginning to show people what you're capable of. Because I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. If somebody comes up to me with no portfolio, no examples of their work, but they're trying to offer me their services, probably not going to take it. I'm probably not going to take them up on that offer.
No, that's you and me both, actually. So I mean, it's kind of like it's like somebody DMing you with no pictures on their IG, right? It's like I'm probably not going to respond. Like, what are we doing? You trying to rob me? You trying to catfish me, right? You trying to sell me? You tell me you work for Navy Federal? What's up? All right, so
exactly.
But so all right, so that oh man. So what you're saying, it sounds like, is you have to be willing to sacrifice in the beginning in order to prove yourself before you can expect to see any type of return in the future.
Yeah, like if you can get paid gigs for your very first gig, by all means do that. But don't be surprised if you have to do a couple gigs for free. If not free, just a small amount of money. So either free or just a very, very small amount of money. Don't be surprised if you have to do those things.
All right, Cameraman Steve, we're going to pivot just a little bit, right? We're going to play a game, right? And it's a game that I want to call Build a Business, right? And the business that we're going to build is a photography, videography business, right? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. Obviously, we're going to build the business your way, based off of what you know now, right? And obviously you don't know everything, so we're just going to do it your way, right? So what we're going to do is let's build a videography, photography business, all the way up until, let's say, I don't know, let's just say just being a freelancer that actually is profitable. Right.
Okay.
So we go. I discovered that I want to be a photographer, videographer, and I decide, let's say I want to be a legit business, and then so I go get my business license. Boom. After I get my business license, I don't know what kind of camera I need or anything about the equipment. I just know I have a business license and I have an ambition and a drive for videography and photography. What would your recommendation be to do next?
My very first question would be, what kind of photographer do you want to be? Because that changes a lot too. Like, you're doing weddings, you may need, reception time is dark. You're going to need some extra equipment with some lights. You need a camera that can handle low light situations, or you want to be a sports photographer. The lights on in the gym. All you got to do is just show up with your camera. My first question would be, what kind of sports photographer? What kind of photographer you would want to be? But regardless, I think a base model is, we're talking specs here.
No. I just want to be a photographer. I don't know nothing about nothing.
Yeah, I'm under the impression too of, if you can afford to get what you really want, and you're for sure you're going to pursue it, go ahead and get that. They say, if you buy cheap, you're going to be buying, in a couple of years, you'll be buying something again. So yeah, if you can get, what you really want in the beginning, go ahead and do that. But any camera, people get caught up on 4K, 4K resolution and stuff like that. But, I'd say 95% of my clients are watching content through Instagram on their phone. So, which is 1080. These camera phone screens isn't 4K. So you can get 4K will help. But like you said, if you're just starting out, trying to get a low price point, any camera that can handle HD 1080, you should be good. Any camera that, if you're going to do sports, you're going to need a camera with a high frame rate. So when you press the button, it can take multiple photos at once. That's probably going to be helpful in weddings as well. When the bride and the groom are kissing, you don't want to miss that moment. So you don't want to just take one shot. Let me just fire off and take multiple shots. Because I know in there is going to be at least one good one. Definitely that. And I think that's really it. After we get off of this, I'm gonna be like, dang, I should have said this. But off the top of my head, off the top of my head, this is what I can think of right now.
I think that's a good start, right? So we now go get the camera that we want, right? And then now, remember, we don't know anything. We just know we want to be a photographer, a videographer. Now that we got the camera, right? What is the best way for us to try and fail as far as getting the knowledge? And then what should we do once we get the knowledge? How do we go find some way to fail with it or succeed? But you'll probably fail first.
Get on YouTube, watch 1,000 videos, 2,000, even 3,000 videos, and get the knowledge. I had a notepad when I was watching YouTube. I was legit taking notes.
Nice.
So if you need to do that too, so to get the knowledge, and then get with your mom, your dad, your homies, your girlfriend, your cousins, anybody to apply that knowledge. Start taking photos and apply that knowledge. And if that just goes for basic photography, everybody knows somebody that's playing in the rec league or something like that. Take your camera out, do your homeboy game, and just try some stuff out. That's really what it's about.
Okay, all right.
But don't go out here charging high dollars if you ain't. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna ruin your name before you even get started. You know what I'm saying?
You done stepped on the next part of the business. Look, that's how I know you the truth, man. That's how I know you about quality, not quantity, because you are dead set on making sure that your people, whomever it is that you represent or that you taking the images of and taking the videos of, that they're 100% satisfied, and you refuse to provide them with any type of product or service that isn't of high dollar quality. So that's admirable of you, and I appreciate that of you, because there's a lot of business out here that's scheming and scamming. But this is your interview. We're gonna talk about you.
They like that quick dollar.
Yeah, and it looked like a quick dollar, but all right, cool. So we got the camera we want, right? We done hit YouTube for the 1 to 2 to 3,000 training videos. We got our notepad. We done took all the notes. We done went outside, did the tries and the fails. What do I need now, or what would you recommend for me now to be prepared to present myself to clients to potentially gain business?
Now I feel like at this point, once you have all that, it's straight marketing. You know, get an Instagram, get a website, get a Pinterest, a TikTok, whatever it is to reach the people. Facebook.
Nice.
And from there, just push your content, man. And I'm like I said earlier, I talk a lot. Like, I know what I need to do. I just don't do it. You're talking to a guy that, you know, has a website, but hasn't hit the publish button yet. Like, I legit have a website, but I haven't published it for, you know, the public to see. Yeah. So, yeah, don't be like me, man. If you really want to, if you really want to pursue it, go all in, man. The two things you're going to need is confidence and consistency. I have the confidence. I do not have the consistency. So but you're also talking to a person that has a 9 to 5. So like, I don't have to rely on the photography and videography. And I think that makes a difference too. Like, my job laid me off. You're going to see me website published. I'm on Instagram every day. I'm pushing content, you know? So yeah, that make a difference too.
Listen, you saying what you saying, man, but I think you turned out all right, man. I promise you. And we'll get to it close to it. If y'all go check out his Instagram and his social medias, man, he talking what he talking. But if you go check out his work, bro, and this is my guy, so I know this sounds like I'm caping for him, but I'm telling you, I still remember this one video Buddy did where I still can't remember how he did it. All I know, I don't even know where he got the damn shoes from. He had on Jordans and they just kept changing colors. And I was like, this color, that color, this pair, that pair. I was like, how the hell he got so many shoes? And why he changed so much? Right? Just small things like that, man. I'm always amused by, right? Because a lot of us, we don't know about, you know, photography, videography, but it also plays into how to manipulate social media, right? Because that is a part of it. Like, a lot of it's like beating a dead horse. We know a lot of things that we see on social media isn't real, but the way that we have so much control over what someone else's eyes can see, and give them exactly what we want them to believe this image says, is such a powerful tool that goes beyond just social media in its own right. He just sat there and told you he can make a woman look like she got a tummy tuck without her tummy being tucked. You know what I'm saying? He could probably make my hairline look a lot straighter, and it ain't straight, right? Right? So these are things that is very powerful, and why this entrepreneur, Cameraman Steve, is important, but so dope to me. And this is why I had to have a conversation with him and bring him to the I Am iKon podcast. Before we get out of here, Cameraman Steve, I want to know, what are you working on now and what's next? You trying to shoot movies? You digging deeper into photography and videography? What are we doing? Where do we see ourselves at in the next 5 years with this whole photography, videography business?
If there's one thing I learned over the years, me picking my camera up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, I've learned my lane. I'm not ashamed to say I don't want to do movies because that's too much work. and not try to do all that. So I'm good right now with short form content. These brands are paying major money to people on Instagram to run ads.
Facts.
So you want me to create 10, 15-second ad for you?
That's a fact.
I love that. That don't take too much time for me. I'm a one-man band, so I shoot, I edit, color correct. I do, work on sound. I do all that myself right now. So short form content is definitely the move for me because it doesn't take too much of my time. I can do it on the side, still make good money. 5-year plan, just try to be more consistent.
Okay.
Be more bold to reach out to some of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't post something on Instagram and expect like, all right, let me just wait for Nike to hit me up now. Like, it don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So get more vocal, get more assertive, start reaching out to brands, letting them know I'm here. Here's my work. So that in the next 5 years, that's it, man. Work on that short form content, work with these big brands, get out some quick ads for them.
That's dope. Listen, man, Cameraman Steve, brother, I appreciate you for joining us today. I appreciate you for giving us a light into your life, a light into your process, and allowing us to be able to capture this moment and share with other people in hopes that other people who may be coming up soon on the same footsteps that you have already stepped in the past and that you will in the future, that this can help give them some type of inspiration and let them know that failing isn't necessarily what the word means, right? Sometimes you just there's a way for you to get up and try again. You just gotta believe in yourself, right? Cameraman Steve, as always, it is a pleasure rocking with you, brother. As once again, thank you for joining me today. All right, and please, by any means necessary, if ever you free and you want to come join the podcast again for an episode or two and help me do some of these interviews and ask some of these questions, man. Hey, listen, man, I am here for it. We welcome you with open arms, brother. Open arms, man. Listen, man, we not gonna take up any more of your time today. We're grateful for you. And I wish you the best in the future, and I hope we can be able to get a chance to interview you again and see where you are in the next 5 years.
That'll be dope, man. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, man. Hey, it's Cameraman Steve. It's I Am iKon Podcast. We signing off. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Until next time we see each other. Peace.